Good evening, everyone. I'm Mike Goldberg, classical music host here at WCVE Music. We have a very special presentation for you tonight. We are live in our studio with a live studio audience. Welcome to our radio audience. Welcome to our streaming audience. We're talking about the 2020 Menuhin competition. It's really the Olympics of the violin coming to our wonderful city here in Richmond, Virginia next year, May 14th through the 24th. Hard to believe it's just 12 months away, but there's a lot of preparation that goes into this. We're going to be talking about that tonight with our special guests. Right now, I'd like to introduce them. Gordon Back is the artistic director for the Menuhin competition. He's a pianist as well. And Kirsten Leong, violinist. They are going to perform for us live in the studio. Please welcome Kirsten and Gordon. We will hear a lot of music tonight, and we will hear some talk about the competition. Kirsten is a former winner of the junior competition back in 2010. We'll be hearing about his experiences, and Gordon will give us a full rundown of what Richmond can expect during the next 12 months, and especially at the competition itself. But we're going to let them play a little bit for us right now. This is Fritz Kreisler's Preludium and Allegro. Violinist Kirsten Leong and Gordon Back at the piano. If you're just joining us on the radio, 93.1 or 107.3. We're also online on our Facebook page. The Richmond Symphony is streaming this discussion and performance as well, and we welcome you tonight. Wonderful start to the program. Couldn't have asked for anything better, Gordon.
Thank you, Mike.
Gordon, you have a unique background as a pianist, but you're involved in a very prominent violin competition. Just tell us a little bit about your background. You studied at the Royal North College of Music, and you not only played the piano, but there's a little connection here, isn't there?
Yeah, I actually played for Menuhin when I was 23 years of age. I played for his master classes and then in concert, and I played many international competitions as accompanist to them in Moscow, Tchaikovsky, Queen Elizabeth competition, Carl Flesch in London, and the very first Indianapolis competition in '82. And then Yehudi decided to have this competition, to create a competition for young violinists. There are many for older ones, but not many for young ones. So he started this one in '83, and I was actually the first official pianist. So I've been involved right from the beginning
yes.
of it. Yeah.
And you took over as artistic director in 2002.
Yep, 2004 was actually the first competition I was
Oh, okay.
at.
So over that course of time, what have you done to change the competition? Anything specific?
There are a few things. Like now we're a world-famous global brand. I mean, after Menuhin's death, it couldn't stay the same. Although it was a successful competition, we decided to change the rules, to move it around the world. So we are actually the only competition which goes to a different country, a different destination every 2 years. It's the only competition where the whole jury have to perform as well as sitting on the jury. They have to give master classes and mentor the kids during the competition. So it's a huge event now, basically.
For those that might be listening in and don't even know who Menuhin is, I hope nobody doesn't know, but if they don't, can you just give us a look into the man?
Well, he was a giant, really, of the violin in the last century. He was a great human being. He was much more world citizen than just a violinist. I was talking to the First Lady earlier who knew a lot about him, that he introduced yoga into UK, really. And he was the first Jew to perform in Berlin after the Second World War. I mean, he was an amazing person. And when you met him, you just felt this incredible connection to meeting somebody great.
You talked about youth and the fact that this is a competition for youth. Yes. How is the Menuhin competition structured? You have two different divisions, so there's an age limit, I guess, but on the bottom end, anybody can apply, right? How young have applicants been?
The youngest ever was actually 9 years old that we took in Cardiff in 2008, but the very last competition in Geneva last year, we had a 10-year-old winner who was from Australia, and you'll actually hear him in the opening concert a year yesterday, because that's the first day of the competition next year.
And Kirsten, you were a winner of the junior division in 2010. How old were you at the time?
I was 13 at the time, yeah.
Just a youngster. So going through the competition, can you tell us what were some of the experiences that stood out to you as being a part of this?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, I would say, I think it wouldn't at all be a stretch to say that participating in the Menuhin competition was life-changing. You know, it really, and winning the competition that year in Oslo was definitely the moment which set me on the path that I am on today still. And, you know, not only was it the first time that I was part of such an international musical gathering, but also it was just, you know, so eye-opening as an experience, you know, just to experience how powerful it is to be part of a living, active musical ecosystem where young musicians could come together, interact, make friends, you know, share our passion, you know. And this is the great thing about the Menuhin competition, is that, you know, it offers such an open and inclusive, you know, atmosphere for everyone, you know, for all the young violinists competing, but also for their teachers, for their parents, for the jury, for music lovers everywhere, even violin makers. You know, everyone can come together and really share in this wonderful experience, and in something that we all, I would assume, share a passion for. So, yeah.
So you went in as a 13-year-old. what did you expect when you walked into the room for the first time and played for a jury? And how does that compare to what came out at the end? You know, what did the experience do to change you?
Well, first of all, actually, that year there was this Icelandic volcano eruption, actually, that happened.
It's the one with the unpronounceable name. I don't know if anybody can...
It's Eyjafjallajökull.
Oh.
Yeah. So,
You learned that.
but so it basically, that eruption disrupted everyone's travel plans right before the competition started. And for me, it was really, for me and my parents actually, it was a real journey having landed in Frankfurt and having made sort of this 50-something hour train and bus trip up to Oslo, you know, because there were just, airspace was closed. And for me, that was, you know, so important to the experience, because when I arrived, I think I really just didn't expect anything. You know, I didn't touch the violin for 3 days. And, you know, in that time, when I stepped in to play the first round, I remember not being nervous, actually. You know, this was probably one of the only times in my life that I wasn't nervous, you know? And I just remember just going up there, doing my thing, just tell a story. That's what I told myself. Yeah.
Actually, I remember his playing was absolutely amazing. He played the Brahms G major sonata. If you know it, it's a very sophisticated piece. And I knew within the first 2 phrases, it lasted about 8 seconds, that this kid was going to win. It was just phenomenal.
Wow. Speaking of Brahms, you have some Brahms prepared for us. So what is up next on the program?
Well, it's another piece of Kreisler. Kreisler wrote over 70, 80 pieces. And this is an arrangement which I love, and Kirsten also.
Absolutely, yeah. This is an arrangement that I think we both love a lot. You know, this is of one of the Brahms Hungarian dances, number 17 to be exact. And like anything he wrote, Kreisler sort of imbued his own personality into, even though this is an arrangement, that, you know, there's this side of, you know, Kreisler was known to be a very, you know, a noble, elegant violinist, you know, with a beautiful sound, and, well, also very virtuosic and very stylish, I have to say. And so you actually can really get a sense of how Kreisler was, you know, just as a musical personality and as a player, just by looking through these pieces. So this is basically Brahms with Kreisler's touch.
Should we play it?
Kirsten is here for another purpose this week because he is going to be the guest soloist with the Richmond Symphony Youth Orchestra Sunday night at 7 o'clock. I believe you're playing Tchaikovsky, right?
Absolutely.
Information on that concert at richmondsymphony.com. A very exciting event to kick off this year-long celebration of having the 2020 Menuhin International Violin Competition. We here at WCVE are very proud to be a sponsor, along with the University of Richmond, the Richmond Symphony, Virginia Commonwealth University, and of course the City of Richmond. We welcome you here to town, and we're so excited about this upcoming year, Gordon.
Well, I'm incredibly excited, I must say.
How did you go about choosing Richmond? How did we convince you?
Well, the actual toss-up was between New York and Richmond, believe it or
And
not.
we won.
And you won. I mean, there's been incredibly interest about it because we actually announced the program just 3 weeks ago, and in that time, 80,000 people have downloaded the information about applications. I mean, I hope 80,000 don't apply. To give you an idea, we had a world record application in Geneva. We had 317 applicants from 54 countries, and we accept 44 to come. But there's huge interest in the fact it's in America and Richmond, so it's going to be very, very exciting and very popular, I think.
We have a lot of different venues that you will have events at next year. And of course, the two universities I mentioned, University of Richmond and Virginia Commonwealth University, will play a critical role.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, one of the great things for me is, in a sense, the competition reinvents itself every 2 years. So what I love about it is working with the host city to create a uniquely different competition with very much their stamp and a sort of Virginia feel about it. So it's a really fabulous program that we've arranged. You're right, the opening rounds will be in Maudlin Center at the UR. The semifinals will be at VCU, and there'll be 4 events at Carpenter downtown with Richmond Symphony. And also we'll be bringing in the Sphinx Orchestra from New York. They'll be here for a 6-day residency and do a whole lot of outreach with the community, as well as perform with the kids and also perform their own concert as well.
So this is obviously a very big deal for our city. For those that are listening in, whether they be here today with us, or maybe they're joining us online or on the radio, how easy is it for them they have to get tickets for events, but is the public invited to most of the events?
Oh, absolutely. The early rounds are free, and then other ones you have to pay for. I think tickets are actually already available, in fact, for some events. Yeah. I mean, to give you an idea, the competition is every 2 years. It started to become much more international in 2008 when we went to Cardiff, but the big global changes, we were in Oslo in 2010, and the Norwegians were absolutely fantastic and very innovative and creative. Then I thought, where do we go from there? We went to Beijing in 12, Austin, Texas for the first time in America in 14, London in 16, Geneva last year, and now Richmond. So there are major international cities before.
So some of the initial events are the opening rounds. Violinists come in with repertoire that's obviously prepared. Kirsten, maybe you can speak to what is required when you apply for one of these competitions.
Oh, well, you definitely prepare a tape, and in the tape you're required to play, an assortment of different things, that will showcase sort of all sides of your personality and of your skill. So, yeah.
And the repertoire changes every competition. I mean, we'll have 2 world premieres in Richmond. One with Mark O'Connor, who's composing for the older ones. There are 2 age group categories, one under 21 and one under 15 for the juniors. And for the juniors, Mason Bates is writing a piece which will be a world premiere. I think he's from Richmond, isn't he?
Yes, he is.
Which I'm really excited about. That'll be with Sphinx Virtuosi at Carpenter for the final. And the program, there'll be sort of 25 events in 11 days. It'll be huge, basically.
So by the time you get to the finals, there's got to be some sort of requirement for a particular piece?
Oh, yes, the repertoire has already been stated.
So if you come and you want to observe the final round, you're going to hear a multitude of people playing the same piece, which is rather interesting.
It is. It's not necessarily the same piece. I mean, they get a choice of the 4 seasons with the juniors. And what's
What
exciting...
happens if they all pick the same piece?
Well, they could potentially. I mean, there'll be 5. It's never happened so far. There are 5 that we choose for the final in that. And if you look at our website, menuincompetition.org, you can see the 2 joint winners from Geneva, because I've left the same piece in unusually, where the kids actually direct the performance. There's no conductor, so they actually direct the performance themselves. And the 2 winners in Geneva were both, it was a joint shared first prize. They were 10 and 11 years old, and it was staggering. I mean, I think it's 15 million people have watched those videos on YouTube, which is a huge number for a classical musical audience.
The competition runs 11 days.
Yep.
So this is asking a lot of you, but in a very short period of time, can you just give us an overview of what Richmond can expect as a city hosting this competition?
Well, I think it really will be the world capital of violin for those 11 days. I mean, you've got 9 superstar members of the jury who will all perform. You'll have the best violinists from literally all over the world. I expect a record number of applications coming to Richmond. I think we'll get far more American actual applications because it's in America. And it'll be a truly sort of global event.
Sounds fabulous. We're going to let you play a little bit more now.
Okay.
So what else do you have for us?
So we have another Chrysler piece. This is actually, it's called Tambourine Chinois, or Chinese tambourine.
And
So-
the tambourine's in the bass. There,
Absolutely. And yeah, it's actually, it's a funny little piece because, of course it's sort of evoking the Chinese, tambourine and something sort of an exotic feel, if you want, if so to say. But also it's definitely, I would say, still very Viennese to the core, just like Chrysler was. Yeah.
It's also incredibly difficult for the violin, by the way.
We'd have it no other way.
I'll try my best.
I'm not sure how to follow that up. We talked a little bit about the jury.
Yep.
There are some prominent artists coming to Richmond next year, and we can announce that now.
We can, as of actually tonight. In fact, my London team have been working sort of for a week putting this together, and it's actually being announced midnight our time in London tonight. So it's going out worldwide because people are really curious who's not just who's on the jury, but what the program is, where it's going to be, the venues. I mean, we're going to use the Bird Theatre, the Virginia Rep. I want to use as many places in Richmond as possible to show off the city, different venues, different genres. Regina Carter's coming, Mark O'Connor's coming. One of the jury, Aaron Dworkin, is a very famous educator. He's going to give a lecture. We've got actually the president of Carnegie Hall coming down to be involved in a panel discussion. So it'll have a very, very international aspect.
Are you allowed to let the names leak of the violinists that are coming?
The jury?
Yes.
Absolutely. I don't know if I can remember them now. No. No, it's a fabulous jury. We have. I always put one non-violinist because it's very interesting to see how they listen. Basically, this time, in fact, there'll be 3 non-violinists. So the non-violinists are Aaron Dworkin, who started the Sphinx organization. He's dean at Ann Arbor. And we have the great cellist, American cellist, Ralph Kirschbaum, who I knew for 30 years in London. He now is in LA, Colburn. And we have, who's the third one? Anton Nell, the pianist, who's a great friend, collaborates a lot with violinists, so he knows the genre very well. Then the 6 violinists are Pamela Frank, who's the chair of the jury, who's based in New York, Joji Hattori, who is Japanese but lives in Austria. The superstar who will play at the end is somebody called Ray Chen, who is Australian, fabulous violinist, has a major international career now, and who is a former prize winner. Ning Feng is one of the best Chinese violinists, lives in Berlin, was also a former prize winner. We have Noah Bagley Bendix, who is the concertmaster of the Berlin Phil. He's American, but he lives in Berlin. And the 6th is a former prize winner. When she was 17 years old, then she went on to win the Wieniawski competition, Korean, based in Switzerland, who was actually on the jury in Geneva and gave an absolutely amazing performance of Prokofiev First Concerto. It was so amazing, I asked her to play the same piece with the Richmond Symphony in the opening concert, actually. So that's the 9 jury.
We certainly look forward to being a part of this and hopefully having some of the jurors live on our air when the time comes.
Absolutely.
We're 12 months away. So what happens between now and next May? You've got a lot of work to do, and so do we.
Yeah, I mean, there's a huge amount of organization, like you can imagine. But the team in London is great, and my colleagues are absolutely fabulous here in Richmond, and I really enjoy working with them. So it's basically putting it together, making it happen, working it all out. The basic framework is there. The one aspect which we really want to develop is the outreach community work. Because for Menuhin, this was very important. It wasn't just about a competition with a winner. He wanted it to be an international experience for everybody. So if you have the best 44 violinists coming from the world, they will all perform in Richmond, whether they proceed to the next round or not. So they will all get a great musical experience from this adventure.
And it all starts May 14th next year. That is the opening concert. Ya Ling will be here with the
He will.
Richmond Symphony.
And we have, as I said, the two winners from the last competition who are 10 and 12. One is from Australia, one is from Singapore. They're coming. And Su Yong will be the soloist, the other soloist in them.
So there's a lot going on from the 14th to the 24th, but the big concerts are that first one on the 14th, and then the finalists are the final weekend.
Yes, the final, this is the junior final with Sphinx on the Friday, the senior final with Andrew Litton and the Richmond Symphony on the Saturday, then the gala where you get the winners plus the star jury member, and it's a lot of fun for the gala concert on the Sunday.
You have one more treat for us tonight, I heard.
Well, I didn't know if there was time or if you
Sure,
wanted it.
there's
Do you want
plenty
any
of
more,
time.
Or
Yes, we all want more.
This is a piece that's particularly I'm fond of because I played it with Menuhin when I was Curzin's age, in fact. It's not Chrysler, it's Elgar. Menuhin, of course, he knew Elgar, he premiered the violin concerto. I hope you don't mind, it's English. It's just, I absolutely love it, and I love the way Curzon played it. In fact, we played it when he was 13 in Oslo for the King, in fact, at the Nobel Peace ceremony. So.
Enjoy. Violinist Kirsten Leong and pianist Gordon Beck, who is the artistic director for the International Menuhin Competition. We are so looking forward to hosting this in our city next year. This is so exciting. Thank you for spending some time with me tonight.
Pleasure. It's great to be here.
Thank you for having us.
And for our radio audience, I thank you for tuning in, and I will be back with you tomorrow on the radio beginning at noon. Right now, it is time for Jazz with Peter Solomon here on 93.1 and 107.3 WCVE Music. Thank you all.
Thank you.